Wealth had always surrounded Adam Kensington, but love had always evaded him. As the only heir to a billion-dollar empire, he had everything: power, luxury, and an endless line of women who desired him. But his mother, Eleanor Kensington, saw the truth that he refused to accept. These women did not love him. They loved his wealth, his name, his lifestyle. And each time he gave his heart, it ended the same way: betrayal. Welcome back to my channel. If you love shocking stories filled with love, betrayal, and unexpected twists, make sure to subscribe and stay tuned. Eleanor had watched enough. She knew that if her son ever had a chance at real love, she would have to intervene. But Adam would never listen. He believed love was a game where the richest player always won. So, Eleanor devised a plan, one that would change everything. Disguised as a simple cleaner, she entered his company, unseen and unheard. No one questioned the woman in a faded uniform pushing a mop across the marble floors. No one noticed her as they whispered their secrets, their ambitions, their schemes. And that was exactly what she wanted. For weeks, she observed. She watched women throw themselves at Adam, watched their eyes light up at his wealth, watched them speak of love while calculating numbers in their heads. But then, she saw her. A young woman, different from the rest. She worked hard, ignored the men vying for her attention, and never seemed interested in anything but her job. Eleanor's heart skipped a beat. Could this be the one? But just as she began to hope, she stumbled upon a secret, one that changed everything. Eleanor had spent weeks watching, but this woman was different. Her name was Sophia Reed. Unlike the others, she did not seek Adam's attention. She kept her head down, focused on her work, and never engaged in the office gossip that revolved around her billionaire son. She was talented, determined, and carried herself with a quiet strength that intrigued Eleanor. Still, Eleanor needed to be sure. She started cleaning near Sophia's desk, listening carefully to her conversations. Unlike the other employees, Sophia was kind, always thanking Eleanor whenever their paths crossed. While others ignored the cleaning lady, she offered warm smiles, never treating Eleanor as invisible. One evening, as the office emptied, Eleanor saw Sophia sitting alone at her desk, frustration clouding her face. Papers were scattered in front of her, and she rubbed her temples as if carrying a burden too heavy to bear. Curiosity got the best of Eleanor. She quietly mopped near Sophia's desk, pretending to be lost in her work while keeping an ear open. Then, she heard something that made her pause. A hushed phone call. "I know the hospital bills are due," Sophia whispered, her voice tight with stress. "I will find a way to pay them. Just give me a little more time." Eleanor's heart clenched. Hospital bills? Was she taking care of someone? Suddenly she saw Sophia in a new light. This was not just a hard-working woman. This was someone carrying a silent battle. But why had she never asked for help? Why had she never tried to get close to Adam, like the others? That night, Eleanor made a decision. She would test Sophia. She would push her, watch her, and see if she was truly different. But what she did not know was that the truth was far more complicated than she had imagined. The next morning, Eleanor decided to test Sophia in a way that would reveal her true character. She deliberately spilled a bucket of water near Sophia's desk, making it look like an accident. As expected, most employees walked past without a second glance, some even sneering at her clumsiness. But Sophia? She immediately rushed forward. "Are you all right?" she asked, kneeling beside Eleanor and offering her a tissue. Eleanor glanced up, pretending to be embarrassed, her hands trembling slightly as she reached for the mop. I am fine," Eleanor murmured, lowering her gaze like a humble worker afraid of losing her job. But Sophia did not step away. Instead, she bent down, grabbed a few paper towels, and started helping clean the mess. Eleanor watched in silent awe. A wealthy executive walked past, pausing just long enough to scoff. "Sophia, why are you doing that? That is her job," he sneered. Sophia lifted her chin. "I do not mind helping." The man rolled his eyes and walked away. But Eleanor had seen everything she needed to see. This woman was different. While others saw a cleaner as insignificant, Sophia saw a person. Still, Eleanor was not convinced. She needed to know more. That evening, Eleanor followed Sophia out of the office, keeping her distance as she weaved through the crowded streets. To her surprise, Sophia did not hail a cab or enter an expensive apartment building. Instead, she walked toward a run-down neighborhood, her pace quick as if she were eager to get home. Eleanor's heart pounded as she watched Sophia enter a small, aging house. A moment later, a weak, frail voice called out from inside. "Sophia? Is that you?" "Yes, Mom. I am home." Eleanor inhaled sharply. Sophia was not just hard-working. She was a caregiver, carrying burdens no one in the office could see. But what shocked Eleanor the most was what she saw next. Through the window, she saw Sophia sitting beside a hospital bed, holding her mother's frail hand. Tears pricked Eleanor's eyes. This woman had every reason to chase wealth, to find a rich husband, and secure a better life. And yet, she had never once tried to use Adam for his money. For the first time, Eleanor felt something more than curiosity. She felt admiration. But she still had one question left unanswered. What would happen if Sophia was given a chance to be close to Adam? Would she remain the same? Or would wealth corrupt her like the others? Eleanor was about to find out. Eleanor spent the next few days observing Sophia more closely, convinced that she had found someone truly different. But before she could bring her closer to Adam, she needed to be sure. A real test, one that would expose her true nature. The opportunity came sooner than expected. That morning, as Eleanor mopped near Adam's private office, she overheard a conversation between two female employees. "She is so stupid," one of them scoffed. "If I were Sophia, I would have made a move on Adam by now. She sees him every day and still acts like he is invisible." The other woman laughed. "Maybe she is just playing the long game. No woman ignores a billionaire unless she has a plan." Eleanor's grip tightened on the mop handle. That was exactly what she needed to find out. Was Sophia truly uninterested in Adam, or was she just waiting for the perfect moment? Later that day, Eleanor took a risk. As Adam walked into the break room for coffee, she deliberately knocked over a stack of files near Sophia's desk. The papers scattered everywhere. Sophia sighed but did not hesitate. She bent down, gathering them one by one. And that was when it happened. Adam turned, noticing her for the first time. Their eyes met. For a moment, Eleanor held her breath, watching closely. Adam frowned, clearly trying to place her. Then, instead of flirting or acting shy, Sophia simply handed him a document. "You signed this incorrectly," she said, her tone professional, indifferent. "You need to fix it before it goes to legal." Adam raised an eyebrow, surprised by her straightforwardness. "You work in legal?" "Yes." She stood up, dusting off her skirt. "And I do not have time to keep fixing your mistakes." Eleanor almost laughed at the stunned expression on Adam's face. He was not used to women speaking to him like that, especially not one who worked for him. As Sophia walked away, Eleanor saw something she had not seen in years. Adam was intrigued. But would that intrigue turn into something real? And more importantly, if given the chance, would Sophia remain the same woman Eleanor admired? There was only one way to find out. Eleanor was going to bring them together herself. Eleanor knew her son well. Adam was used to women fawning over him, adjusting their personalities to fit what they thought he wanted. But Sophia? She had not even spared him a second glance. That alone had planted a seed of curiosity in Adam's mind. Now, Eleanor just had to make sure it grew. The very next morning, she put her plan into action. Adam was reviewing documents in his office when Eleanor, still in her cleaner's disguise, approached him cautiously. "Sir, I am sorry to bother you, but there is an issue in the legal department. One of the employees needs your approval on a contract, but she is swamped with work." Adam barely looked up. "Then she can wait." Eleanor hesitated, then sighed dramatically. She said it was urgent. Something about financial clauses that could cause problems for the company? That got his attention. He ran a frustrated hand through his hair and stood up. "Fine. Who is it?" "Sophia Reed." Adam's expression shifted for just a fraction of a second. Eleanor caught it. Without another word, he strode toward the legal department. Eleanor followed at a distance, her heart pounding. This was it. The moment that would either prove Sophia was truly different, or reveal that she was just like the others. Inside the legal office, Sophia sat at her desk, completely unaware of Eleanor's plan. When Adam entered, she barely looked up. "If you are here about the contract, you need to sit." Adam arched an eyebrow. "Sit?" She pointed at the chair without looking up. "Yes, sit. I do not have time for small talk." Eleanor held back a smile. This woman had no idea she had just challenged a billionaire. Adam, clearly intrigued, sat down. "All right, tell me what I did wrong." Sophia finally glanced at him, eyes sharp with focus. "You signed off on a clause that allows vendors to overcharge us after 6 months. It is a loophole that could cost your company millions." Adam leaned forward, suddenly interested. "You caught that?" "Yes. And if you do not want to bleed money, you need to fix it." Eleanor watched closely. There was no nervousness in Sophia's voice, no attempt to impress Adam. She was here to do her job, nothing more. When Adam signed the corrected contract and stood to leave, he hesitated for just a second. "You are good at what you do," he admitted. Sophia shrugged. "I know." Adam smirked. "Not very humble, are you?" She finally looked at him, unbothered. "I do not need to be." As Adam walked out, Eleanor saw it, the rarest expression on her son's face. Amusement, respect, maybe even admiration. Her plan was working, but she had no idea that Sophia was hiding a secret that would shake everything Eleanor believed about her. Eleanor had seen the way Adam looked at Sophia. It was not love, not yet, but it was something rare. Curiosity, a spark of interest that he did not show to just anyone. But before Eleanor could push them closer, she needed to know everything about Sophia. That night, Eleanor went home and made a call. She had connections, private investigators who could dig into someone's past within hours. "I need a full background check on Sophia Reed," she instructed. "Family, financials, everything." The next morning, the report arrived. As Eleanor flipped through the pages, her chest tightened. Sophia was drowning in debt. Not because of reckless spending, but because of her mother's medical bills. Her father had died when she was a child, leaving her mother to raise her alone. They had once lived comfortably, but after her mother's diagnosis, everything changed. Sophia had taken on multiple jobs to pay for treatments, but it was never enough. The bank had already issued foreclosure warnings on her house. Eleanor inhaled sharply. Sophia was not just strong, she was a fighter. But that was not the part that truly shocked her. It was the last page of the report. There, in black and white, was a detail that sent a chill down Eleanor's spine. Years ago, Sophia had been engaged. But her fiancé had abandoned her when he found out about her mother's illness. He had called her a burden and walked away, leaving her alone to pick up the pieces. Eleanor gripped the paper tightly. No wonder Sophia had no interest in rich men. She had been burned before, betrayed by someone who had promised to stand by her. For the first time, Eleanor felt something deeper than admiration. She felt protectiveness, but she still had one question left. If Sophia was truly different, truly uninterested in wealth, then what would she do if Eleanor, still disguised as a cleaner, offered her help? That afternoon, Eleanor put her plan into motion. She approached Sophia in the break room, carrying an envelope. "Miss Reed," she said timidly, "I overheard you talking about your mother's hospital bills. I do not have much, but I want to help." She held out the envelope, stuffed with money. Sophia's eyes widened in shock. Then, to Eleanor's surprise, her expression hardened. "I appreciate the gesture," she said, her voice firm, "but I do not take money that I have not earned." Eleanor felt her breath catch. Sophia did not even open the envelope. She did not ask how much it was. She simply walked away, her pride intact. That was the moment Eleanor knew Sophia was the one. But what Eleanor did not realize was that her plan to bring Adam and Sophia together would soon take an unexpected turn. Because someone else had started noticing Sophia too, and they had no intention of letting her end up with Adam. Eleanor had no doubt now. Sophia was the perfect woman for Adam. But she was not the only one who had noticed her. Unbeknownst to Eleanor, someone had been watching Sophia from the shadows. Someone who did not want her anywhere near Adam. Victoria Langford. She was the daughter of one of Adam's business partners, and had been pursuing him for years. Elegant, wealthy, and calculating, Victoria believed she was the only woman worthy of being Adam's wife. She had tried everything: grand gestures, charity events, and subtle manipulations. But Adam had never looked at her the way he had looked at Sophia in that break room, and that was unacceptable. Victoria had connections, and within hours, she had everything she needed to know about Sophia: the debt, the sick mother, the past engagement. A cruel smile curled on her lips. A woman like that had no place in their world. Meanwhile, Eleanor was carefully crafting a way to push Adam and Sophia together. She knew Adam had already begun noticing her, but he was stubborn. He would not act on it unless forced. So, Eleanor created the perfect opportunity. That evening, as the office emptied, Eleanor deliberately, accidentally, knocked over a bucket of water near the legal department. Just as planned, Sophia slipped, dropping the stack of files she was carrying. Before she could hit the ground, strong arms caught her. Adam. Sophia's heart pounded as she found herself staring directly into his piercing eyes. He held her for a second longer than necessary, his grip firm, his gaze unreadable. "Are you all right?" His voice was lower than usual. Sophia quickly straightened, flustered. "Yes, I can stand on my own." Adam smirked. "Clearly." Eleanor, watching from around the corner, grinned. But before she could celebrate, a new voice entered the conversation. "Well, this is interesting." Victoria stood at the end of the hallway, her arms crossed, her expression cold and calculating. Her eyes flicked between Adam and Sophia, and in that moment, Eleanor saw something dangerous: jealousy. Victoria was not going to let Sophia get close to Adam, and Eleanor knew exactly what women like Victoria were capable of. A storm was coming, and Sophia had no idea that she was about to become its target. Victoria's mind raced as she watched Adam help Sophia. She had never seen that look in his eyes before: curiosity, maybe even admiration. It made her stomach twist with rage. Sophia Reed was nothing. A struggling woman drowning in debt. A nobody. And yet Adam, the man she had been chasing for years, had looked at her as if she were something special. That was unacceptable. By the next morning, Victoria had a plan. Meanwhile, Eleanor, still disguised as a cleaner, noticed Sophia moving cautiously through the office. Something had changed in her demeanor. She was on edge, suspicious. Then, it happened. Sophia entered the break room, only to freeze. Her colleagues were whispering, eyes darting toward her. One of them let out a snide laugh before muttering just loud enough, "Gold diggers really do come in all forms, huh?" Sophia stiffened. "Excuse me?" Another woman smirked. "Come on, Sophia. Acting all innocent, pretending you are not after Adam? It is honestly impressive. First, you are drowning in debt, and now, suddenly, you have his attention." Sophia's blood ran cold. "Who told you that?" The woman shrugged. "People talk." Sophia's fingers curled into fists. She knew exactly what this was. Someone had leaked her financial struggles to the office. Someone wanted to humiliate her, and she had a very good idea of who. Eleanor stood in the doorway, her heart sinking. She had seen women like Victoria before. Ruthless, entitled, willing to destroy anyone who threatened their power. But she had not expected her to move this fast. The office buzzed with gossip for the rest of the day, and by the afternoon, Sophia had had enough. She stormed into an empty meeting room, shut the door, and took a deep breath. A voice interrupted her thoughts. "Are you all right?" She turned sharply. Adam stood there, leaning against the doorframe. His gaze was unreadable, but there was something in his expression that sent a wave of frustration through her. "If you are here to confirm the rumors, do not bother," Sophia snapped. Believe whatever you want. I do not care. Adam arched an eyebrow. Is that so? Yes, she said firmly. Because I have more important things to deal with than what rich people think of me. For a long moment, Adam said nothing. Then, a slow smirk tugged at his lips. Interesting, he murmured. Sophia frowned. What is that supposed to mean? Adam tilted his head. Everyone I know either wants my money or my name. You? You act like neither matters. That is because they do not, she shot back. His smirk deepened, but his eyes softened just slightly. Then prove it. Sophia crossed her arms. Prove what? That you are not running from me. Before she could respond, he stepped closer, invading her space just enough to make her pulse quicken. But it was not intimidation. It was a challenge. And for the first time, Sophia felt something she had never expected. Adam was not just intrigued. He was chasing her now. Eleanor, watching from a distance, smiled. Victoria, watching from the shadows, seethed. This was far from over. Victoria was livid. She had expected Sophia to crumble under the weight of the rumors, to disappear quietly, humiliated. Instead, she had held her ground. And worse, Adam had only become more interested in her. That could not happen. If subtle tactics would not work, she would have to escalate. Meanwhile, Eleanor had seen the shift in Adam. He was not just curious about Sophia anymore. He was drawn to her. It was in the way he watched her, the way his smirk softened when she challenged him, the way he seemed almost entertained by her refusal to be impressed by his wealth. Eleanor knew it was only a matter of time before he acted on it, but she had underestimated Victoria's desperation. That afternoon, Sophia's supervisor called her into the office. She walked in, confused, only to find security waiting. Miss Reed, the supervisor said coldly, sliding a document across the desk. Do you have any explanation for this? Sophia frowned, picking up the paper. The moment she read it, her breath caught. It was a transaction record. A large sum of money had been deposited into her account that morning, an amount that looked suspiciously like a bribe. The note attached to it claimed it was a gift for providing confidential legal documents to an external party. Sophia's heart pounded. This is a lie. I never received this money. Her supervisor's expression was unreadable. It is in your account, Miss Reed. Sophia felt dizzy. This was a setup. Someone had planted this, and she knew exactly who. Victoria. Before she could respond, a new voice cut through the tension. She did not take the money. Sophia turned sharply. Adam stood in the doorway, his presence commanding, his eyes locked onto the supervisor's. If Sophia was selling company secrets, she would not be foolish enough to accept payment in a way that could be traced back to her. This is obviously fabricated. The supervisor hesitated, but Adam's authority was undeniable. I will investigate further, he finally said. But Miss Reed is suspended until this matter is resolved. Sophia's stomach twisted. Suspended. Without her job, she would not be able to afford her mother's medical bills. As she walked out of the office, feeling the weight of the world crashing down, Adam fell into step beside her. Do not worry, he said quietly. I will handle this. Sophia stopped in her tracks and turned to him, her voice sharp. Why do you care? Adam met her gaze, unflinching. Because I do not like seeing good people get ruined by snakes. Sophia wanted to push him away. She wanted to tell him she did not need his help. But for the first time in a long time, she felt something unfamiliar. She felt like she was not fighting alone. And that terrified her. But while Adam was determined to clear her name, Victoria was already planning her next move. Because if Sophia would not leave willingly, she would make sure she was destroyed. Sophia sat alone in her tiny apartment, staring at the ceiling. The weight of the suspension crushed her. But what unsettled her more was Adam's involvement. Why was he helping her? What did he stand to gain? Meanwhile, Adam was already working behind the scenes. He had his suspicions about Victoria, and it did not take long for his private investigators to confirm them. The money deposit was traced back to an offshore account linked to one of Victoria's associates. She had orchestrated the entire setup. That night, Adam made his move. Victoria arrived at an exclusive gala, expecting admiration and champagne. Instead, she was met with cold stares and hushed whispers. Her father pulled her aside, fury in his eyes. "Do you have any idea what you have done?" he hissed. She scoffed. "What are you talking about?" Adam stepped forward, his presence suffocating. "Oh, I think you know." He tossed a folder onto the table in front of her. "Fraud, bribery, defamation. I have proof of everything, Victoria." Her face turned pale. "Consider yourself cut off," her father said coldly. "Our family's reputation will not suffer because of your obsession." Victoria opened her mouth to protest, but it was over. The very world she had used to crush Sophia had turned against her. The next morning, Sophia received a call from the firm. She had been reinstated. Her supervisor, forced to apologize, admitted that they had been given false information. But the real shock came when Adam called her into his office. As she entered, she found Eleanor standing beside him, no longer in her cleaner's uniform, but dressed with the quiet elegance of an influential woman. Sophia's breath caught. The pieces fell into place. "You are his mother," she whispered. Eleanor smiled warmly. "And you, my dear, have passed the test." Sophia looked between them, confusion and disbelief swirling inside her. Adam stepped forward, his gaze locked onto hers. "I do not trust people easily. But you are different." He hesitated for the briefest moment. "I want you to stay, Sophia. Not just at this firm. In my life." Sophia's heart pounded. The arrogant billionaire, the man she had fought so hard to keep at a distance, was standing before her, raw and unguarded. And in that moment she knew. This had never just been about a job. It had been about fate. A slow smile tugged at her lips. "You really are impossible, Adam." His smirk returned. "But you like that, do you not?" Eleanor chuckled, watching as the two of them stared at each other, an unspoken challenge lingering in the air. She had come to find a wife for her son. Instead, she had found the one woman who could truly change him. And Adam? He was finally ready to let her.